Alright, hello. I'm going to do a little tutorial on the spin tool. For me, I'm going to bring in an image so I can show you how to do that simply and give myself something to work around. So in order to bring a background image into your Blender, you need to tell Blender to accept one. So in your window here, what you're going to do is hit N to bring up your properties panel over here. And where it says background images, you're just going to check mark that. When you check mark that and you drag and drop an image into your Blender 3D scene, that Blender will appear, or that image will appear. You can then hit N again and make that disappear for now. You don't need that properties panel anymore. What you do need though is you need to center everything. So we're going to center our cursor by hitting Shift C. And at this point, because our cursor is there, when we add a plane to our scene, our plane will enter where the cursor is. So Shift A to bring in a mesh plane. Our mesh plane is laying on its side, so you can't really see it too good. The face is going upward. So let's rotate this by 90 degrees on the x-axis. So RX90, enter, and you'll see it's right here. What I'm going to do next is tab into edit mode, deselect everything, make sure I am in vertex select, border select the two right vertices, delete, and delete the vertices. What I have left here is an edge with a vertice on each end, and that's what I need for right now. Unfortunately, my origin, as you can see, is still here in the center of my cursor, and I need it in the middle of my newly shaped geometry. So in object mode, I'm going to go to the object menu, go to transforms, and choose origin to geometry. And that's not going to just snap it to the geometry. It's going to kind of merge it into the geometry, transforms it into it. Now I need to snap, just move all of this to where my cursor is, since my cursor is in the center of my image. So I'm going to do Shift S for my snap menu, and I'm going to snap my selection to my cursor. And you can see it's all in line now. Now with it all in line exactly where I need it, I can get rid of this edge that's connecting the two vertices. I only want the two vertices to work with. So I'm going to go into edit mode, select everything, hit delete, and choose only edges and faces. If I were to delete edges, in this particular case, the vertices would also be deleted. So to keep the vertices but lose just the edge, you have to literally choose only edges and faces. So now if I select them both, they're very hard to see. Let me move my camera a little. There you can see them. What I'm going to do is scale these apart so that one ends up at the top of my column and one's at the bottom of my column. And I'm not going to move my cursor or my origin at all because that could mess up your final result. So back in the front view mode so I can see my image and how big I want it, I'll scroll out and then hitting S for scale, I'll just pull till I have one at the top and one at the bottom and positioned where I want them, which is right there. Zooming into the lower one and deselecting everything so I can select only that one with the right mouse button. I'm going to hit E to extrude. When I extrude at some points, I can extrude along a particular axis. So I'm going to extrude along the x-axis to get a nice flat line here. So E and X. Also, I want to mention that sometimes it's nice to have your mouse close to your vertice when you do this. If you have it all the way off to the side, sometimes you focus on your mouse rather than your vertice and you don't draw exactly what you want. But so I like to keep my mouse close to my vertice. So here with it here, E, and then X for extruding along the x-axis. Pull it over right there. Then I'm going to extrude along the Z because I want a nice straight line going up. So EZ, and up I go. I'm going to do EX again to come back nice and straight. And there's my vertex. Now I'm going to freehand it going around. You don't have to use the axes, of course. So just E, and this is where using my mouse close to my vertex just to me is more comfortable. I'm afraid that I lose sight of my vertex or my mouse when I don't have them close together. So now this doesn't have to be perfect. It does not have to go according to the picture exactly. This is my creation, so it can be anything that I want it to be. And remember, the picture can be just basically a guideline. That's really all you have to have it for. Now let's say I finished doing this whole thing, and I have a little issue. I look down here, and that's really not what I wanted. Well, nothing says it has to stay like that. You can come in, and you can rearrange these a little bit, move them a little bit so that they are more to what you wanted to have. So I'll just do that to a couple of these real quick. And you can see how easy it is. And I think I want to keep that one right around there. And then bring that one in. 1 second. Alright, sorry about that. Okay, so, yeah, you can come back and you can fix this up any way you want. I'm going to probably just make a little bit of a more outline here. Finish this up a little bit, and I'll come back when that's done. Alright, so I finished going up the side of it, as you can see. Nothing too special, just kind of went around the main body of the pillar. And now I'm up here at the top. I'm going to leave the image in the background off for a minute. But this was the starting vertex. Remember, we have the two of them, and we spaced them apart pretty good with scale. Well, when you get to the top, just like you had at the bottom, you want that nice flat end. Well, you want a nice flat end here at the top. And what's more reliable than just eyeballing up and down this one, trying to get it just right, what you can do is when you're in your front view mode, you can use your border select to select those two vertices at the same time. And you can scale them on the Z axis to 0, and that will bring them both at the exact same height. Let me turn this a little bit. So B for border selector on this one and this one. I'm going to scale it on the Z axis to 0, and you can see how they jumped up to evenness there, to the same height. And now I can do another thing, and that is hit F on my keyboard, and F will create an edge between the two. And with that, the last extrusion pretty much is made. And that's going to be it for the outline. I think that's pretty nice, and I still can work with it later on if it turns out to be not exactly what I wanted it to look like in the end. So with the whole thing selected now, I can go ahead and spin it. The thing about the spin tool is that when you choose this, you'll see a whole menu of options pop up here. So choosing spin, and there they've all popped up. Now this menu will disappear the minute I use my arrows or I use any other tools. These will disappear. So I want to make sure that I use all these settings exactly to where I want them before I do anything else in my scene. The only thing you can do, of course, is cam around. Now camming around, I was going to show you, this is pretty bad. It does not look like what we thought it would. This isn't what we meant to do. Not at all. So let's go ahead and fix that. There's a very logical reason for that. And that is because when we brought in our plane, we had to remember the face of it facing the positive Z. And we ended up rotating it so that the front of it faced the negative Y when we rotated on the X axis. So we need to change the orientation of our spin here in the axis section. So just click where it says X and type in 0.0. Type type where it says Y 0.0, and then for the Z, go ahead and type in 1.0, all on your number pad, and that will bring it to the right position. Now there's another problem sometimes with Blender. I'm not exactly sure why sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't, but you see it's not lined up at all. It's actually pretty awful. And that's for some reason the center gets messed up. Sometimes when I'm done with the project, it'll be all zeros like it's supposed to be, and sometimes it won't. So 0.0 on there. Come down to the Y, 0.0, enter. On the Z, 0.0. And now all of this should be as we wanted it. And it is. So I'm going to deselect everything so you can get a good look at it. And it is the way that I wanted it. Pretty nice. The only thing is, if we look at it from top view mode, is we only have a fourth of it. Now why is that, right? Well, because by default, if we look here, oh, and look at, I lost my spin option, so let me go back here. Front view mode. So now I have to do it all over again. Up order select these two and put them, oops, it didn't grab this one here. Scale them to Z on the 0 again. And now I will go in here and hit my spin tool. When I spin it, oh, I didn't select it all. Well, I'm just not doing very good here today. So those two selected, scaled on the 0, Z onto 0. Oh, F to create my line between the two. And if you go in close enough, it doesn't look like that is scaled actually. So let's try this again. Alright, that's much better. And the reason it's doing that is because I wasn't in front view mode. So it didn't look like it was centered, but it is. Now I will go ahead and select all of it. Choose the spin tool. I will set my centers to 0. I keep forgetting tab doesn't really quite work from the perspective that I want it to. So zeros and the Z to 1. Alright, now I have it just the way I want it. And there we go. It's all set. Alright, so now after we get this set and we look at it, remember I said you can only see a quarter of it? Oh, that's because Blender right here, it makes its degree 90 degrees, which means it only turns it 90 degrees, like this. And maybe that's good if you want to put this in the corner somewhere, on the inside of a building, in a room, or if you can think of other creative things for it. You might only want 90% or 90 degrees. Maybe you also want to have 180, so that you have a half one. And you can put this up along a wall if you like. And there are other uses for it, but we'll go past that for now. But what we're working on is a full one, so we need to change this from 180 to 360 degrees, so it goes all the way around. There we go. One more thing here is that this doesn't look very round because it's taken Blender 9 steps to go around. So you can see 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. You can change that here in the number of steps by going up to 12. Make it a little rounder. You can go to 16, 18, 24. The default for a cylinder in Second Life is 32. So that is as round as it would be inside Second Life, 32. It doesn't really need to be that big for detail. 16 is pretty good for it. Plus, it cuts your vertice count, your base count, polygons way down when it comes to land impact if you don't use as many. And of course, with texturing and stuff, you get really good detail. I'll have to remember to fix this row in a moment, but I can't do it now because I will lose these settings and I'm not done with them yet. I wanted you to think about one more thing. You can also, because you can go up on the count of steps, think about if you went down. Let's say we went down to 8 for an octagon shape, or went down to 6. You could think of different numbers for different uses, different numbers of edges. Also, you could go down to 4 and have a cube or a square pillar, which is pretty nice and gives it its own uniqueness. One more to try out would be 3, a triangle. Imagine that on in a corner, or in the center of a room, or as legs for a table or a hall shelf or something. So just takes a little bit of imagination, but if you look at the different numbers of steps that you use, you just see how much more of this, more your imagination can be opened up to what it can be used for. Alright, so now with all of that done, my steps all done, my degrees, center, and axis all adjusted the way that I want them, I don't have to worry about that menu going away anymore. So we can just click wherever we want. And I'm going to do 8 here. So we just click it to deselect and select everything. And now, even though I want just 8 steps, I'm going to have Blender kind of smooth it out for me. So while in edit mode, I can go to smooth vertex, and you'll just see that this all smooths out a little bit. There we go. Now, when I did that, you can see that I got this crack here. And that happens because when I spun this around, I brought this edge all the way around, but I didn't connect it. So let's go back and we're going to connect that. So what we do is we go in here and we're going to hit remove doubles. When you hit remove doubles, you're going to see a progress bar pop up here. And in this progress bar, for a brief moment, you'll see how many vertices were removed because they were doubles. So clicking that, and up here you can see that 77 vertices were removed. And that's a significant number that will really make a difference on our land impact. Now when I go to hit vertex, smooth vertex, I don't get that break because it merged and removed the doubles. They were no longer separate things. So that's kind of nice. It turned out like that. What else you can do is to get a nice look at it, of course, is to go into object mode and then go ahead and for the shading smooth. That kind of shows you how it's going to look in Second Life. Kind of like a little preview version of what you're going to get. And I think that turned out pretty good. Now let's say it's not exactly what I wanted. You go back in edit mode. This is completely editable. You can edit this any way you want. Remember I said I would probably fix this vertex. Well, I can just go in there now and scale it up a little and adjust it the way I want. If I come down here and I think, well, I've used a lot of edges here. I've got a lot of loops going around, and maybe that's just too much, right? So if I were thinking about which ones will, if you think about taking this one away, it's going to change the shape, but it might not change it too much, not enough to keep it in there, so I could probably delete that. So I'm going to hit delete, and I'll choose dissolve. Oh, actually, delete, and I'm going to choose edge loop, sorry. And that gets rid of that edge loop. But the details you can see here has not changed that much. These are still, it's still pretty good. So I might want to delete a few more where I think that it won't affect the overall detail of my my project here. And I can still, that one collapsed it because I hit the wrong thing. There we go. So this is just something that you can do to sometimes clean up a little bit and cut down your land impact. like the way that turned out right there. Maybe I'll even get rid of this one, edge loop. Now, that actually even looks a little bit better to me than it had before. So now I will go into object mode, and that is actually ready to export into Second Life. Alright, thank you. Have fun with it. Bye.